My name is Chris Berdik. I'm a freelance journalist. I'm here on a grant from the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, along with video journalist Steve Sapienza. We're here in Cambodia, and we're reporting on efforts to save the Great Lake Tonle Sap. Here behind me is the confluence of the Tonle Sap River and the Mekong River. The Mekong flows down from China, past Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, into Cambodia, and then down through the delta in Vietnam to the South China Sea. The Tonle Sap River heads up to the Great Lake Tonle Sap, which is the biggest inland fishery here in Asia. It is a lake that changes its size dramatically from the wet season to the dry season. In the dry season, it's about 2,500 square kilometers. It grows to about 5 times that size in the monsoons. Also with the water come migratory fish that have spawned upstream, small fish that come into the lake, and they find excellent habitat there in flooded forests that surround the lakeside. The lake is sometimes called a giant fish factory. Every year, it's estimated that the lake produces about 350 metric tons of fish, which is tremendously important here in Cambodia in particular, because fish provide about 75 to 80% of the protein eaten here. So what we're looking at, however, is a situation where upstream on the Mekong and its tributaries, there are some major hydropower dams that are either in place or many more that are planned, which threaten to choke off the flood pulse, which is the heart and soul of the fish production in the lake. The other threats that the lake is facing come from overfishing. You have also cutting down of the flooded forests, sometimes for rice paddies, sometimes for fuel wood used by local people. On top of that, you have climate change that is still a distant threat, but it is something that is looming for the lake. So Steve and I are here covering an international effort by researchers from North America, from Europe, from Australia, and also from Cambodia, who are trying to forecast what may happen on the lake from these various threats, to understand the biology of the lake, to understand the economics that lead to different uses of the water, both in the lake and upstream, and to try to forecast how those trends and how those systems work together and what the future will hold for the lake. The effort is aimed at trying to help people that are managing these resources to make better decisions that can keep the productivity of the lake for the fish and also to maintain the integrity of the ecosystem as well. This is my first time in Cambodia, but what has surprised me is how evident the change is here. We were up in the North Country where people still get around by ox cart, and yet attached to some of these houses that have no permanent supply of electricity are satellite dishes. On the lake itself, you have people fishing there pretty much the way they have for centuries, out of small, long boats, hand-cast nets, and yet also on those fishing villages, in the floating villages, there are many, many floating cell phone shops. We're standing here in Phnom Penh, which has just exploded in the last few years in terms of people moving here, business development. The area where we're standing is full of cranes and high-rise condominiums and office buildings, almost none of which were here just 5 years ago. There's a tremendous amount of young people in Cambodia. You just get the sense that you're in the midst of change. You come back here a year from now, it will be a completely different place. 2 years from now, even more so. So what drew me to this project, to this reporting project, was the ambition of it. The fact that this was not just a story about development threatening a natural resource, because you really have a story of trade-offs. You really have a region that needs electricity, that needs many things from the waters, a growing population. And the challenge that the researchers and their Cambodian partners have set for themselves is to understand how those human needs and the needs of the ecosystem work together, where the tensions are, how the interventions could be structured to maybe not get a win-win, but to make the best decisions for both the people and the natural systems that they depend on, especially here in Cambodia.